Hello, everyone. Welcome to Keep It Spiritually Simple. I'm your host, Sandra McGellis. And before I introduce our beautiful guest, I'd like to ask each and every one of you if you please hit that like, subscribe, share, and by all means, leave us a comment. Let us know how you like the show. Let us know if you have a question for, a previous guest or the current guest, or let us know who you'd like us to bring on the show. We'd love to hear that too. So, in the meantime, I am not going to hesitate and waste time. I want to introduce Kathy Boyer. Kathy is a pet communicator. She just finished the memoirs of the crazy cat lady. So, there's a lot of things Kathy's going to share. We met a couple years ago at a spiritual retreat and just hit it off walking down from a sacred space in the mountain and started talking about animals and just all kinds of things. And now we've reconnected and here we are. So, welcome, Kathy.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
So tell us a little bit about, my goodness, have you always known you were a cat communicator or a pet communicator?
No, it happened kind of by accident. Although when I look back on the steps that led up to it, I can see that I had already, been somewhat intuitive to animals. But I attended a 4-day animal communication seminar down at the Edgar Cayce Center in Virginia Beach. My teacher is Joan Ranquet, who has the school that I attended. And after those 4 days, I kind of joke and say, well, now I know what I want to be when I grow up. So I want to be an animal communicator. And I've always had animals, mostly cats and a couple horses. So I learned to communicate with them in a different way, going inward and listening for pictures, words, and feelings. And I mean, there's technical ways I can explain the process of what I do, but basically that's it. It's it's telepathy, and I have been doing this. Well, I guess maybe 6 years now, professionally since I graduated, but I've always kind of had an intuitive sense, like a lot of people do that I talk to that have animals or really love them and feel like they're connecting at some level. So that's the background to the animals, and then it turned into uh, after I did my case studies and then started working on people's animals to help them out with any behavioral issues, things like that. Part of the training actually included some energy healing training. So I do EFT tapping with animals and their people, and another form of energy healing called the scalar wave, which targets more physical healing. And so all of this just started happening in my life. And then I just got this brainstorm, hey, I've had so many cat stories. I think I should write a book. And then the idea got bigger. And so I did, and it just got published in December. So here I am 5 years later and writing about my journey, which is a spiritual journey.
Well, congratulations. And that takes courage. It's one thing to pick a topic and then go into it, but it's another when it has all your personal twists and turns and how do you write about yourself? But then again, it also has the excitement and authenticity because it occurred to you, with you, through you, so you can translate it onto a paper and then share it with the audience. Now, do you feel that as a kid, you were always just innately in tune to animals, especially cats?
I think it was the beginnings of it. Um, and when I look back, I've always had this desire for learning more about mysticism and time travel and all kinds of things like that. Even like my favorite show was Our Dream of Jeannie, if any of you remember that. And so I was just enthralled with mystical type things. And so now, well, I didn't know what to do with all of that until a few years back, and I see the pieces of it coming together with what's been shown to me now with my cats and my own spiritual changes, I guess you'd say.
Mm-hmm. Well, I ask because I've always been really good with animals. But as a kid, I always felt like I could communicate with our family cat when we had multiple ones through growing up. And they understood me and I understood them. And even when I got older and had a family and I had two cats, they had different personalities, but I understood them as well. And even now, I will go into people's homes and a cat or a dog immediately within 5 minutes is either at my foot or on my lap.
Oh, I love it. And I think that everybody has this innate ability, and it's part of our DNA, I guess you'd say. Um, Even though I've had, formal training with what I do, the way we communicated before language was telepathically. It's through pictures, words, and feelings. And so I think we have that within us. And some people I think are more tuned into it than others. I think the way things are shifting on the planet, and with spirituality, that more people are realizing they already can do this, to some extent, or they're just open to it. And it's just different when I was younger. But I'm just seeing, especially with the younger generation, I'm seeing so many young people that just seem to intuitively know stuff that I had to take a lot of time learning. And I think it's tremendous. I think we're supposed to be interspecies communicating, I guess you'd say.
Well, I also think that our generation, our mindset is in a different compartment. And the more generations that are coming in, they're more open. So there aren't as many compartments and boundaries within their mental capacity to break through and to understand things at a younger age. And I think that's also because we've come before them trying to break open those trap doors and connect more with the heart and the source of all that is. And what better place to start but our furry friends?
I agree. I agree totally. And it's just, I find it really, really exciting as I see, like maybe we have paved the way for the next generation to come in, and they just seem to catch everything quicker. They just seem to know. They intuitively know stuff, I guess, and I just love it.
Yeah, I feel like there's more open hearts. Their hearts are more open, and they're
Absolutely.
and they're not so what's the boundary of like there's no um there's no gap between peripheral awareness. It's just one big open space.
Yes.
Yeah,
And I think
so
the other thing is with the technology that's available to young kids now. For us, it was only a dream, like watching, Star Trek and the phaser. Who would have ever thought of a phone that didn't have a cord stuck to a wall? So they're already growing up with the capabilities of technology that we never could imagine. So I think that already stimulates their curiosity and imagination and ability to think beyond what we were able to at that age when we were younger.
yeah, I agree. And then it's people like us who pioneer ahead and kind of go through some of the rough, rumpy, bumpy parts. So it's a little smoother for them as they enter and walk through. So, Memoirs of a Crazy Cat Lady. I absolutely freaking love that title.
Thank you. That the title actually just came to me when I was thinking about writing the book. I was walking around our city park and musing with the idea. And so I sat down on a bench at the end of my walk and I took out a piece of paper and I just started writing down chapter names and then the title, Memoir of a Crazy Cat Lady. And it's like, well, I guess I never thought of myself as a crazy cat lady, but it seems to go with the title of what I'm going to be talking about. So I just went with it, and it evolved from about 10 little chapters to a whole memoir and a whole expounding
Mhm.
upon the stories that I did share, and then tying it in with my spirituality and my growth and transformation. And the cats, in particular, were an integral part of that.
Yeah, and cats are generally linked to the Lyran species of extraterrestrials. Apparently, they look a
Oh,
little bit more like cats. So, and they also, their dialect is different. I know I have a connection with the Lyrans. Um, so many of us who are attracted more so to cats versus we love all animals, but cats seem to be the one of choice. Um, we have some Lyran in us. So
ooh,
I
oh, I
find
love
that
it.
very, yeah, I find that very fascinating because we are terrestrial and then we have multiple extraterrestrial families who have evolved from, whatever they evolved from, but they're all here to assist us and share things to us. So tell me a little bit about the book. What could someone expect when they pick up Memoirs of a Crazy Cat Lady?
Okay. Well, is it okay if I read just the back summary that will
Please,
tell you? Okay.
please.
So it says, what if your greatest teachers came wrapped in fur, whiskers, and a purr? Through hilarious mischief, tender goodbyes, and uncanny reincarnation, Kathy Boyer's extraordinary cats and one very comical horse lead her toward healing, intuition, and a deeper understanding of the soul's journey. Told with warmth, wit, and spiritual insight, this memoir is for anyone who's ever felt the unshakable bond between humans and animals. Whether you're a fellow crazy cat person or simply curious about the magic that lives between species, Memoir of a Crazy Cat Lady invites you to see the world through new eyes, perhaps the ones looking back at you from your favorite four-legged friend.
That's
So
beautiful.
I think that kind of encapsulates pretty much what I talk about. I hit all aspects of, having a cat. And then a big theme of my book is animal reincarnation, which I was a little bit um, uncertain about whether I should even talk about because I have a very traditional church background in Christianity. And this was not anything that was part of my upbringing, but I started questioning everything, and then I started getting different answers than I ever expected. And some of that was my animals coming back in different cat bodies, and I recognized the soul at the soul level who they were. And it was exciting, and it opened up a whole new world to me. And I want to, I guess, convey through my readers that it's okay to think differently. It's okay to ask questions and to just explore the world around us. And the answers are probably different than what you ever could imagine. And I guess that's one of the main themes that and points of what I would like to get across from the book.
Well, I think that's really, really important. And, before I don't really understand a whole lot about reincarnation or recycling. I just know that I have personally been in multiple bodies simply because I've done hypnosis and past life regression and actually became a hypnosis person and past life regression, assistant, I call it, for people. Um, so I know that it comes through. And then I also know that in our physical world, we come in with some of those people we've had lives before, and some of them are comfortable and some of them are uncomfortable because there's unresolved communication that needs to occur, lessons
Uh-huh.
that need to be learned. But
Mhm.
at one point I had a dog um, for my daughter, and in that dog, from the first moment I saw it, I knew that it was a reincarnate of a dog I had as a child. And even at the point where the dog was still with its mother and couldn't leave its mother, I went over to visit. And that's when I had this like premonition. The other person that I was with said, "Doesn't this remind you?" It was my sister. "Doesn't this remind you of Fella, our family dog? Isn't that weird?" And I said, "Oh, well, it's funny you're saying that because I just walked into the room and I had the exact same feeling." She's, "Me too. I've had it since he was born." And I said,
Wow.
"Well," and he looked different than the other ones. And I went,
Mhm.
"If I get a dog, that one's it." And I just couldn't let him go. And I got him for my daughter. But that dog, I did not know that dogs change, that they choose their owner. And
Uh-huh.
that dog never left my sight, never took its eyes off of me its whole 17 years I had it.
Oh my gosh.
And we
Oh,
could
I love it.
telecommunicate. He was a Jack Russell. I could walk him without a leash. He would
Hmm.
listen. If he got a little bit too far, he'd turn around and come back and tag me. So there was this unspoken communication I had with that dog. I had it with all the pets growing up. I had it with the two cats and the dog, with my family, with my children. So I just know that innately something happens, that these souls recycle and they come back in to work with us and teach us and share. And for me, cats are just so wise. I think for me, not that I'm prejudiced, but I usually would choose a cat over a dog, right? It's
Uh-huh.
just me.
Uh-huh.
It's just me. And it's because I can just relate to them and the unconditional love that they share. And they'll show up. Like you could walk into a room and go into another room and have, something going on. And next thing you know, it doesn't just come in the room and sit there. It comes and it makes sure it is on you. Like it
Mhm.
is intermingling in a deeper energetic level that I could even explain to our listeners. And you just feel it on a deeper level that this cat felt my emotion, realized I need a little something, and then was on me trying to work that energy with me, which
Wow,
also
I love it.
evoked emotions. So, like, let's say I came in and something was really bothering me, and I kind of needed to maybe cry, or I was a little angry. The cat would shift my energy from unproductive anger to letting some tears flow, letting some emotion come out in a different way that was healthier.
Mhm. Wow. Yeah, I've had a similar experience. The one particular cat, the one that's on the cover of the book, is a calico, and she was with me um, in a different body, a male body, earlier. And when I put the connection or had the experience of the previous cat, actually. Um, I've heard him in my heart, and he said, "Can't you see it's me?" When I was staring at the calico, and I'd felt
Mm-hmm.
Big Boy was his name, and I hadn't felt him in like 20 years since he had passed,
Mm.
and that was the deal breaker for me when I absolutely knew this was real. And so Fuji, the calico, was 15 at the time. She lived to be 18 and a half, and she died a year and a half ago. But I realized the soul had been with me through brief time of my childhood before he was hit by a car, and then through most of my early adulthood, and then through the really tough years of leading up to, a year and a half ago. And she would always come around when I needed something. If I was elevated, having to struggle with one of my daughters, she would just be there trying to calm me down. And I just see her presence and the role she played in my life. And it was just like, wow, they're so tuned in, absolutely tuned in.
They truly are, and I'm glad that you're sharing that, because when I talk about this, the dog I got from my daughter that wound up being my dog, when he passed, I was fortunate enough to have him pass in my arms, and I had this epiphany come through that I was able to have closure because I was not able to be there for the first dog.
Uh-huh.
And there was this whole visual that came through when he passed, like I just closed this chapter, like I wasn't available for this one. Oh, this brings up emotions. Wow.
Oh
Mm.
boy.
Woo.
I get it. Yeah.
That I wasn't there and present for that one, to no fault of my own. As a child, when he passed, I wasn't there at all. And then this one, it showed me all kinds of things when this one passed, and he passed with his eyes closed, just as gently and quietly. And I had this whole story that was the closure of not being there and the bond we had, and then that bond. Ooh, dog.
Wow.
Hmm.
Oh boy.
I
Well,
love it. I love it because
yeah.
it all triggers responses to release things, because we're all connected and we're all
Mhm.
learn such amazing things. So we love to put more value in family and friends and so on, but our pets are so critically important, and they're so highly intelligent and misunderstood. And so it's
Yep.
really important to have someone like you who can be a liaison and a translator of that, but you're stirring up what's already innately in me. I just don't do it as a living.
One of the things I talk about a lot in the book is the end of life issues and the end of life trauma that many of us have. Um, for whatever reason, if we couldn't be there when they died or whatever the situation might be, sometimes for many people, the first experience with grief they have is when they lost a pet when they were a kid.
Yeah.
And it's just different how society reacts versus a family member that, a human that passes. And so a lot of healing for me has come through this knowledge that these cats have been with me before and they are back. And even communicating with ones that have crossed the veil already, which I do. And I've had other people do for me with some of my cats. Um, and it gives a different type of closure and healing. I'm all about healing in any way, shape, or form possible, and um, sometimes it comes unexpectedly. But the context of when I heard Big Boy say, "Can't you see it's me?" It was when I was doing tapping with another person, which EFT tapping, if you're familiar, emotional freedom
Mhm.
technique. You tap on acupressure points to release emotions that are stored in the body that have been there through some type of trauma or whatever. And so we were tapping through the end of life from Big Boy, or getting ready to tap through that, because it was not the greatest circumstances. And I was mid 30s when it happened. And it was a tremendous uh, moment of healing for me to get off, feel like I'm off the hook from 20 years of uh, feeling like I had done something wrong, like I had failed him, and the guilt and the regret and all of that. And over again, um, I got healed of those things. And, helping other people the same way, because I don't like us to stay in that place of just guilt and regret over the loss of a pet, because we can lose the years that were just tremendously beautiful with those animals. And we get fixated on the end of life trauma that we experience, but there's a way past it, and you don't have to stay there.
Well, all three of my pets, the two cats and the dog, come and visit me many times when I am at a point where I feel maybe very lonely or something. And then all of a sudden they're there. They're in their positions near me if I'm laying down, and I can feel them. I can sense them, I can smell them, and I can hear them. Like their
Wow.
purr, their touch, their the weight of them. It's happened to me multiple times, and I just tell them in those moments how much I love them, how much
Oh,
and that I wish I could have spent just a little more time, or maybe not been so busy on certain days, and maybe played with the toy longer, or, something, maybe appreciated you a little differently. But life happens, right? But I was told not to feel regret, but just to feel the unconditional love and the preciousness of each moment, because you do not know what the next moment will bring.
absolutely. Absolutely. And I can relate to what you just said of not playing with them long enough. Maybe I could have played a little bit longer. I mean, those things go back in my head. What if I had spent more time here, doing this with this animal? So it's just, those are reminders to really appreciate each and every day and every moment that I have with them. Um, because, as you said, you don't know when it's going to happen. There was one situation where my cat Squeaker, who was a little bit over 20, I think he showed up when he was probably 8 or 9. But he passed away. He'd been sick for a long time. And unbeknownst to me, one of my other cats uh, passed 10 days after he did. And she'd never been sick a day in her life. And all of a sudden she was gone too. And I, know that those two souls were traveling together, but I didn't get it. And I felt like I should have spent more time, or why didn't I see the signs and all of that? There's so many things that that I uh, could second guess myself on, but I don't do that anymore. I realize sometimes things are beyond my control. And in the case of these two souls, they were traveling together. There's not a thing I could have done to stop it. But they all sent me butterflies afterwards. That was another special thing that happened. And I know they hang around. I know they show up.
Yeah, and again, it just really truly brings you back to that heart space of being fully present in an appreciative state in that moment for simple things like looking at your child, looking at a plant, looking at your pet, maybe
Hmm.
telepathically going, I love you, I love you, I love you, even if when it's not scheduled or whatever, just no plan at all. But it does really bring you back to, at least for me, just appreciating every single second that I had with them, letting go of the coulda, shoulda, wouldas, right?
Yep,
And then
absolutely.
and then having deep conversation with them while they're on the other side, telling them how
Hmm.
much I love them, how much I appreciate them, talking to them about, their individual persnickety personalities, you know, and then, one cat used to love to wanted to get wet food, and I would be doing dishes and I'd be like, I'll get you in a minute. I'll get you in a minute. And she used to love to come back up right to the back of my calf and just kind of give me a little love bite. And I would be like, ow. And of course, my hands are in dishwater, so I can't do anything. I look down and she just look up and go, mm-hmm, still waiting here, still waiting. And, so I tell them those things from the other side. I'm like, you know what? I actually loved it when you did that.
Oh,
I loved it it was never annoying to me because it was part of your personality and I appreciated you. And so
oh,
what better way to get back into that space of your heart, which is what we're craving at this time in this universe right now. We need to get back to the simple, basic things of being in our heart and feeling this amazing light love that just precedes everything.
mm-hmm. I agree. I love it.
Yeah.
Somewhere along my journey, people would say that what I'm doing is spiritual work, and I didn't get it right away, but now I absolutely believe it 100% that, I mean, all of life is so interconnected. And when you understand the oneness and the beauty of that, it just transforms everything. And it just, I'm no longer on the outside looking in. I belong to all of it because I'm part of it, and my animals are part of it, and my plants are part of it. We're all, it's unlike anything I ever experienced growing up in a church setting. Put it that way.
Hmm. Well, I think what I'm hearing is, you stepped into the space that everything is oneness, that you're not separate from anything. And I think a lot of, certain doctrines have you believing in one way and that everyone else is wrong. And I think sometimes they also set it up so that you believe you are right and everything else is wrong. So to me, there's just a lot of boundaries and borders. And when you really step into the spirituality, is that the whole universal world is just one big kingdom, and the main thing is love, and all the other things are just part of your learning experience.
Yep. Yep. And it's shifted everything, absolutely everything. My life is um, so much more joyful now. I have an interior peace that I never thought was imaginable. And I love it. Every day is a new day.
Hmm. Well, that's awesome. Any books coming in the future?
No, this one right now, I'm working on putting it on, have it available for Audible.
Okay.
So that's the next project with it. And I'm going to hopefully be doing book signings and those types of things. I had the privilege of being interviewed on a local TV station a week ago, which is mainstream media, which was the most awesome thing, and talking
Yes.
about my book. And it's like, oh my gosh. So that in itself to me was a huge thing. I felt called to write this book. I felt like the animals wanted me to write it. It's part of the story, and it's a really important one. So, like, doors have opened where I never would have thought they would have, because I believe they want their stories out there. And
Hmm.
it's supposed to make a difference. So that's
Well,
what I do.
thank you for having the courage to walk through and listen to that craziness that goes on where you have self-doubt. Like, what? How am I supposed to write a book? What? Okay, well, who am I? Right. And then you get
Exactly.
all these wonderful confirmations like, see, we asked you to take this step. You took this step. Now we're going to show you doors opening because of that step. But we're also showing you this deep heart centered connection between you and the universe. And then you're going to see other people in ways that you may have never seen them before. Right.
Hmm.
And so are people calling you for sessions to converse with their passed over loved ones or pets? And then, or even ones that are transitioning, or maybe they're having an issue with a pet. What exactly does that look like?
It's a mixture of all of that. Often it's some sort of behavior issue they're experiencing. Why is my animal, my cat, peeing outside the box? What's going on here? This dog, blah blah blah. This, whatever the situation might be, or we brought another animal in the house, and this is what's happening. These are the dynamics. How do I get out of this? And then there's the physical healings that people are needing a boost for. They can't get answers from veterinarians with traditional means, and so I'm offer energy healing things, um, and animals that have crossed over, and sometimes just the end of life. What does this animal want? Is the animal ready to go yet? Are they ready to cross over? And so all of that. I get asked to do all of that, and I will say I absolutely love connecting with people's animals who've crossed, because every experience I've had has been so beautiful and really healing for the human to reconnect with that animal through what I've been able to find for them.
Well,
I
that's
love
really
it.
powerful and very comforting for someone to know that they can look you up and call you and make an appointment via Zoom, which that's nice. Um, are you able ever to scan them and say the reason why this is happening is, I'm just going to make something up. They're having digestive issues to their food, or they're having a hip issue, or they're feeling melancholy, or I mean anything like that. I mean, can you tune into those things?
Part of what I do, the communication with the animal, is I'll do a medical intuition scan. Not a diagnosis, but I'll just go through the body and see what I'm sensing. If some things are off, sometimes I might feel it in my own body. Um, whatever it might be, I can sometimes help with that. Um, and let me see. I don't have to be present with the people because I'm working energetically, so I can. It's not bound by time or space, so I can do everything remotely with people, or I have local clients as well. And some local clients I see in person, and some I still do remotely.
Okay, so I know what remotely means for me. But do you ever
Mhm.
do anything by Zoom, or do you just strictly say, okay, your appointment's at this time, I'm going to tune in, then I'm going to give you my analysis via email or phone call or whatever? How does that work for you?
Okay, so I always want the humans present with their animals when I'm doing a session. So I normally will call them on the phone, and sometimes I do a video call with them.
Mhm.
Um, and I have them be present with the animal while I do the session, and then I call them back and give them what I've got, and we take it from there. If it's something where we think that EFT tapping might be helpful, then I'll do a video call with them and take the human through it, and I'll tap with the people too for their end of or for their trauma related to the animal. For example, if there was a dog that another dog attacked when they were walking around a park, let's just say that. And so that every future time the dog was afraid to go to the park, and so was the human. They're both affected by that trauma that happened. So I can do the tapping with the person as well as the animal to try and remove the trauma and help it move through the body so that they're not afraid of it anymore. That type of thing. Sometimes the scalar wave energy healing, we'll set the appointment time. I'll call the person, let them know I'm starting, and to see if there's anything new they need to tell me. If this such and such happened, the vet saw this, and this is what showed up on the blood work, and then that'll give you some specific things to work on. And then I'll just, work on the animal quietly, if I'm doing a remote session. And then I let them know when I'm finished and tell them what I got and what I saw when I was in there. So I want the owners present during the whole process. I don't say, oh, yeah, I'll talk with them, tomorrow and I'll let you know what I get. No, I want the owners very much present at the same time.
Well, that's really powerful. And I don't know why this is coming through right now, but what if you have a family who has what they feel is a little bit more of an aggressive dog, and maybe it's been aggressive towards one of the kids, maybe they're afraid it will become aggressive towards one of the kids, they're not quite ready to make a decision to, well, I don't think this animal belongs with us, and they want it to work out and understand how they could be more copacetic together, before they
Mhm.
make that decision. Is this something you would do as well?
What I would do would be to communicate with the dog to try and find out what's causing the aggression. What is the dog scared about? What is it? What's happening that he feels the need to lash out, or what's going on? And I also would probably recommend they talk with a trainer, someone experienced with the dog behavior, because a lot of things with dogs, different than cats, can be worked through with a trainer on an ongoing basis. Um, Also, there's a real adjustment period for dogs. Sometimes they're just scared. I mean, ultimately, every animal wants to be safe, and so some of these things are safety related. Um, Sometimes they don't know how to handle the massive amounts of change they're going on. Sometimes a dog might need more structure than what the family's given them, and sometimes I can find out those things to help as well. And sometimes I can also find out if maybe they were abused in the past, or something that might have happened where they're scared of a certain age group or a certain gender because of something that happened. Um, and then there's also, situations where the dog might be doing a self-sabotage kind of thing where is the dog wants a family so bad, but yet um, is afraid it'll be rejected, so it'll do something to be rejected. Um, so
Humans
that
do that too.
yes, yes. So there's a lot of different dynamics that can go on, but definitely knowing what's going on with the dog can help. And there's also a whole other area of, supplements or, products, CBD stuff or other things that can help calm an animal down too. And that there's a few little body work techniques that I can also show people to do with their animals to help calm their nervous system a little bit.
Well, that's all really powerful, which is leading me to a couple more messages I'm intuitively getting. I think if a family is thinking about, they're going to be buying a cat or a dog from somewhere, there could probably be some pre-energy work that could be done prior to the physical relocation of that pet into their home. So, in other
Hmm.
words, they're reaching out to the birth mother, right? Or maybe the family dynamics of the birth mother. And then the other thing that's popping up is people that really, really believe in adopting a pet. And sometimes you adopt a pet and you don't know what mix is going to happen. So I think you could maybe do like, I feel like you could really help people with both of those situations.
Uh-huh. And a lot of times, I can connect with the animal before they bring it home and let the animal know what's going to happen. And I did that with my own case with two of my male cats that are now 4.5 years old. Um, and I talked with the mother. The mother was a feral cat that one of my friends was helping, and it was the third litter in a row that she'd had. And they finally caught her, and they found home for two other litter mates in this group. And then I brought my two boys home, but I talked with the boys ahead of time, and I talked with the mother cat to let her know what was going on. Um, and that was a real healing thing for me because one of the big stories in my book was when I found homes for kittens of a mother cat I had taken in from outside when I lived in Japan, and I lived with a lot of guilt for that for a long time. So in this case, the mother cat had said that she was worn out, that she was young herself and didn't have a chance to even live herself anymore because she'd
Mm.
had three litters back to back to back. And so it was just really helpful. And so when I came to pick up my two boys, the lady that brought them out to me, my friend, said, "Well, they weren't any trouble. I just picked them right up, and they went right in their carrier." And the same thing with another cat that I have. It was 12 at the time when I brought her home. I let her know in advance what was happening, and they didn't have any trouble putting her in the cage either, or the carrier. But not to say they don't still have emotions. So yes, in their head, yes, I know I'm going to be picked up and brought someplace else. But then when they get to that new place, all the emotions that go with that. Oh, I didn't know it was going to feel like this. I got what you told me, but now I've got to deal. I don't know where I am, and I don't know what's safe here. And so they have that transition time of learning their new surroundings too. There's that part of it, that component too. But
Hmm.
it all helps. I believe it helps, and um, also can help tapping, if necessary, with the people, the humans, to help reduce their anxiety over their situations too. And sometimes that will shift the whole dynamics of a household. When the humans are a little bit more calm and present in their bodies, the animals are less apt to pick up the franticness that they might be experiencing.
Hmm. Well, that is really, really super powerful. And I think it would be helpful for all involved when you do this pre-forward kind of energy work before
Hmm.
welcoming an animal, whether it's, in infancy or, hasn't even been born yet and you're having communication, as well as if it's older and adoptive. And I was just feeling the story when you were talking of every single time I pulled a suitcase out of the closet, my cats might not even be in the room. They would sense that that suitcase was coming out, and their personalities were completely different. And I would talk to them and be like, I'm coming back. I mean, I'm just going to be gone for a few days. You're going to be okay. No worries. You can stay home alone. Someone will come in and change your water. We're all good. But it was that interesting feeling of like, don't go anywhere. Like one of my cats would like get right into my suitcase before I could even pack it. Like, yeah, I want to go with you. So animals have such an amazing personality. And I think the more that we can understand how to communicate with them, children already sort of know,
Mhm.
but we as adults need to work with our children and our pets so that we have a better cohesive synergy within the home that we're offering this
Mhm.
pet because we're responsible for them until the day they exit. We're
Exactly.
responsible, so we want the best for them 24/7, from
Mhm.
entry to exit, because we want to release that soul to the best of our ability and close any gaps that we may have in between. Like, for example, with mine showing me, hey, I was your dog in your past life. And I mean, when you were a kid and you weren't there, but watch this whole story unfold and I exit and we exit together as one soul. So yeah, that's very powerful. Well,
Mm.
is there anything you'd like to leave the audience with today? Because I know we're going to have you back. There's so much more to share about this information.
I think just to, if you have animals, just to be aware and kind of observe your relationship with them and be present with them. Don't be on your devices all the time. I'm talking to myself too because I get trapped with that. Just be with them and spend time with them and um, just let the bond form and just I don't know. I guess that's my big thing. Just be present with them.
No, I hear you. I feel you. I get it. And it helps us not have regret later. But we should be doing
Absolutely.
that for everybody. We should be putting things down so we give undivided attention multiple times a day, whether it's to our children, our plants, household chores that need to be attended to, personal needs for ourselves, our pets, etc. Because everything is a living, breathing product of source.
Hmm.
Everything,
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah. Practice. I would also say it's coming to me. Just practice grounding yourself daily, maybe even multiple times. There's different ways to do that. Maybe we could talk about that next time. But it's helped me to ground myself and my animals in the space that we live in every day. And when I shift the energy that way and ground all of us, then there's a lot more cohesion that happens within our relationship. And my house is calmer. My house is calmer too.
That makes so much sense because we really do have to respect the energy of our animals because they read it long before we're in their presence. I mean, when you're saying that, I'm like, I remember many times coming in the front door with my youngest, who would be very temperamental and moody, especially after school. And if she was in a certain mood and she opened that door, the two cats and the dog would take off into another direction, and we hadn't even stepped inside yet. They knew the energy of like, oops, we're not going to be around that. So
Yes.
if we want to make our house more peaceful, where the nervous systems, not just of ourselves, but of our furry loved ones, that includes fish and birds and all kinds of things,
Hmm.
lizards or whatever. We should probably talk about that and how we can help people make the household,
Mm.
more energetically aligned to what our heart desires, not just what our actions are doing all day long because we stay so busy.
Hmm. I agree. That would be a great topic.
Okay, I'm going to mark that down. All right, everybody, welcome. And thank you so much for being here on Keep It Spiritually Simple. Please do remember to like, subscribe, share, leave us a comment. Hey, and if anyone would like a session, I will have Kathy's links down below. But Kathy, if you very quickly would like to tell someone your website.
Yes, it's simply thepetconnector.com.
Okay. And I will have that in the description as well. All right. Well, let's say goodbye, Kathy.
Bye. Thanks so much for having me.
Bye, everybody.